Oh, hello guys, welcome back to the channel. What is wrong with my hair? First let's go fix it. That's better, and welcome back to this channel. And today we're reviewing Rocky 5. Not much else to say, but go check out my Rocky playlist. I haven't reviewed a Rocky film in like a few weeks, but let's get started with the review. And later today, hopefully we get Legends of Tomorrow Season 2 episodes ranked. Or that might have already come out. I don't know when my uploading schedule will be. So let's get started. This movie is about Rocky Balboa dealing with the fallout of Rocky 4 with battling Drago, and he defeated him, and then so he decided to quit boxing, at least for now. And then he took on someone to train him. We got a little things on the sun, and somehow, how do you travel? How do you just travel back from Russia, and then it looks like his son is much older? I know it's a 5-year difference. Don't tell me, but he looks so much different. Like that there's just no way. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't buy it. But anyway, he quit, and he's taking someone on to be trained, really. And his name is Tommy Gunn. So, yeah, that's what it's about, pretty much. Let's start with the good, and next up we have the good. And starting out the good, we have Sylvester Stallone. I still think he's pretty good in this film. It's not a good film whatsoever, but I still think he's pretty good here. And honestly, like, I think even though I don't really care for the character of Rocky Balboa as much here, I still think, honestly, Sylvester Stallone still giving a performance. I can't say he feels like Rocky. Forget about the Rocky part, but he still feels like he's given a good performance for what he's kind of written to do. And surprisingly, that's kind of the only thing in the good. And so now you have the mixed stuff, actually. Whoops. And starting up the mixed stuff, I mean, you have the characters. I think the characters here, honestly, are not quite as good as they were in other films. Like, Adrian and Rocky's relationship, I mentioned this in my Rocky 3 and 4 reviews. It just wasn't as good anymore. It was so good in the first 2 films. It just wasn't, for some reason, it just wasn't as good anymore. I don't know what it is. It just wasn't. I can't exactly pinpoint why. But it's still fine here. And I don't really like Tommy, his son, or no, his name is Robert. I do not like Tommy Gunn. He's just such a jerk. I just don't like him whatsoever. And then his son, Robert, at least I think that's his name, kind of unlikable. So the characters here not really good at all. But they're fine, I guess. Then you have the street fight at the end. I thought the street fight, I kind of like the angle that they're trying to go with it. I don't mind the idea of doing the street fight, but make it well choreographed. Like, don't do just do punching. That works in a boxing match, but that doesn't work in a street fight. You actually have to have some what-shot kicking. And, well, I have a better idea. What-shot. That's much better. And, I don't know, I just wish there was more of that. Like, the street fight it just doesn't do much for me. It's by far my least favorite of the final fights. Guess that just spoiled the ranking. Except for maybe one that may be worse because it's just so weirdly shot and it's just odd. But that will be coming. That review will be coming soon. So it's not Rocky 3. And honestly, like, I just think the street fight is just kind of weird. Plain and simple. I wish they just had a regular boxing match. I would have much preferred that. Now you have the bad, and starting out the baddie of the villain, I guess, really, like, person that Rocky's training, that's Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn is by far the worst villain in the franchise. By far, like, easily. Like, no other villain, not a fan of Mason Dixon from Rocky Balboa, but he's at least actually not bad. I don't like Tommy Gunn. A, he's a jerk. B, he just doesn't, like, do much for me. And C, I mean, he just, like, it feels like Rocky Balboa is easily going to beat him. And even for his age, it just doesn't do anything for you. Or at least for me. Let me know if it does something for you, but he's not a good villain. Now you have the montages. The montages in this film nowhere near as good as there were in Rocky 4. I guess they were so cheesy in Rocky 4, but they were so much fun. I'm looking at the training montage specifically. This one, it's okay. Like, I don't mind the idea of Polly training Robert to fight off his bullies, but that's just an odd plotline to visit in the film. And it doesn't really work. So I mean, but overall, that training montage isn't very good. But it's kind of it's alright. But the plot line as a whole is just weird. And then I do not like the training montage with Tommy because it doesn't seem like he seems to care about Rocky and what he's trying to do for him. So that one's kind of frustrating. And then I don't remember exactly how and why he decided to just leave Rocky. I don't remember how, but I don't know. The montage in this film are kind of weak, but I mean they're fine at best. But nowhere near as good as really any other film. Even the Creed one, the Creed training montage, which I wasn't. It was still, I mean, that was still pretty good. No, not number. What the hell? Next up, you have the plot. The plot of this film, it's just weird. Like, it doesn't feel like a Rocky film, really. It feels like, it does feel like a Rocky film, but the plot involving Robert and then you have Tommy, it's not, it's not necessarily bad. It's just kind of odd. It's just kind of odd for a Rocky film. Like, this should have been much later. Like, the Creed kind of did something similar to this. It did it so much better. Like, I mean, so much better. And it's just like, really? I wouldn't say this one's forced necessarily. I feel like Rocky Balboa feels like the most forced film in the franchise, but it kind of feels useful to know where Rocky is kind of at his state of life, kind of, and what exactly has happened. So, I mean, honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the plot here. Then you have Polly's decision. Honestly, I really don't like Polly's decision involving the house and then just moving. I'm like, really? What the hell? I mean, that's just like, I thought the second half was a bit better than the first half. Really, once Tommy leaves Rocky's, like, training thing, or he stops training with Rocky, I think the movie gets a little bit better. I like the ending. I like the ending, not the street fight, but I like the ending specifically with them at that little monument. That I thought that was actually a great ending, but honestly, like just Polly, he's just not really likable anymore. Like Polly was actually pretty good in the first film, and then but I think I really like what they did with him, Rocky Balboa. Kind of give him not really a redemption arc, but kind of him reflecting on what he did back in like the first couple Rocky films, and that was really nice. And that's why Rocky Balboa is actually such a good film because it's just such a love letter to the Rocky franchise, especially that first film. And Rocky Five feels like a middle finger to it. So it's just like really, and Polly's decision has a little bit to do with it, not a lot, just a little. Then you have the son or um Robert Balboa. Honestly, like he's fine. I thought the son thing was gonna go on for a little longer than I actually thought it was than when I watched it, but it goes on and on for 10 minutes where I just didn't really like him. But the plot line, the subplot with the bullies, it just doesn't work, especially in a Rocky film where you're supposed to focus on Rocky. And then the worst part is that literally the bullies just kind of join with him. Like that makes no sense. I'm sorry, but you plotted your film badly, especially for the director that did the. I think he did the first Rocky film. It just doesn't work. And so I'm not a huge fan of Robert Balboa, but I like what they do with him in Rocky Balboa and Creed 2. So I think a lot of ways some of the later films kind of make this movie better a little bit because I feel like Rocky Balboa and the Creed films are kind of an apology note, like sending an apology to the franchise as a whole and kind of to Sylvester Stallone as an actor. So it makes it kind of more interesting that this film exists. But overall, yeah, Mm, just yeah. For this movie's final score, it's the only one that actually gets under an 8 out of 10 in the Rocky franchise, which is unbelievable. I'm giving it a 3.9 out of 10. I really do not like this movie, except for Stallone, and I actually don't mind the ending, which I didn't put that on there because I don't have much to say about it. But other than that, like there's just nothing about this film I really like. Especially for a really consistent franchise. This is the first not so good film. Even Rocky 4 is at least like I can understand why you just say you don't really like it because it's just so cheesy. But at least it doesn't. At least it doesn't kind of ruin the franchise. It does actually an interesting thing with the franchise, kind of tackling on the Cold War. But here, it just doesn't do anything. I guess you could say this is kind of. Creed did take some notice to it, and just Creed is basically, at least the original one, is basically Rocky 5, but with just better in every single way possible. Villains better, final fights better, training montage is a little bit better. Okay, that's a little different. What else? the characters are much better in Creed. At least in Creed, not necessarily Creed 2. I wasn't a huge fan of Tessa Thompson's character. I wasn't a huge fan of her. And then also, I mean, even like the fact that Rocky is taking Creed on, like it just takes notice, and it feels like a better version of Rocky 5 in a lot of ways. So those are my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below. This was kind of a quick review, but honestly, I don't like this movie at all. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.